Good morning. Welcome to View from the Top, brought to you by the Rush Sports Medicine Team. I'm your host, Christopher Haralson, and every Wednesday morning at 9 a.m. here on Super Talk Meridian 103.3 FM, we take a look around the world at Meridian Community College athletics. Men's basketball team continued their winning ways Monday night in the Graham Gymnasium as they won their sixth in a row and defeated Southwest Mississippi 60-75. That improves the Eagles to 15-4 overall, 7-3 in MAC play, and fourth place in the conference. The Lady Eagles didn't fare quite as well Monday night as they went down to Summit and fell to Southwest 62-50. That puts the ladies at 8-9 overall this year and 5-5 in MAC play, puts them in ninth. So right now they're one spot out of making the conference tournament. So they got a little bit of work to do in the next couple of games coming up. Both teams will face Colin Thursday night. The men will be on the road as they head down to Wesson, and then the Lady Eagles will host the Lady Wolves in the Graham Gymnasium. It's 6 o'clock Thursday night, and as always, you can catch that game at mcceagles.live. The track team will head up to Nashville this weekend as they'll run in the Music City Challenge. Our men's indoor team is currently ranked 13th, with the newest ranking coming out today. Look for them to move up a few spots in that poll as we've set several school records here lately. Our number 7th ranked MCC golf team is currently in second place in the Bishop State Invitational as they head into the final round today. MCC tennis currently ranked 19th in the country after picking up wins over Holmes, Oxford Emory, and Colin. Lady Eagles team is ranked 13th, and they've picked up win over Holmes and Colin as well as a win over Mississippi Gulf Coast. Both teams will travel to Raymond Friday to play Hines Community College in a conference matchup as well as Belhaven University in a non-conference matchup. MCC baseball got underway this past weekend as they hosted Pensacola State College for a doubleheader Saturday. They took game one 3-2 thanks to a 4-4 performance from Brock Butler. He drove in all three runs for the Eagles. Then the Eagles dropped the second game of the twin bill 4-2. They'll be back in action at Skaggs Field Saturday and Sunday at 1 o'clock as they host Muskegon for a 4-game set this weekend. We'll talk about that game as well as the rest of the season with head baseball coach Dillon Sudduth when we come back after the break. We'll take a break as you're listening to A View from the Top, brought to you by the Rush Sports Medicine Team. Welcome back to A View from the Top, brought to you by the Rush Sports Medicine Team. I'm your host, Christopher Haralson, and today I'm joined by head baseball coach Dillon Sudduth. Coach Sudduth, thanks for joining me.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
It's interesting as I look back at our time here. We've both been here almost the same amount of time. I think I got here 3 or 4 months before you as you finished up school down at Southeastern Louisiana. But going into your 10th season as head coach of the Eagles, is there anything you want to reflect back on as your time here and being at the helm of the program?
Well, it goes by quick. I know that. I mean, it seems like I just got here. So it was 15th. This is my 15th season overall coaching here. And like you said, my 10th season as head coach. And I spent 2 more as a player here.
Right.
So I've been here, 17 years total. And it seems like I just moved in as a freshman as a player. So it goes by quick. It's a special place, as you know, because you've been here a while too. And it's a lot of fun. It's great administration, awesome student athletes we get to work with every day, which makes our jobs really enjoyable.
We've got a lot of coaches on staff that played here and then came back to be head coaches. Tell me what it is about this place that was special to you as a player that made you want to come back and coach, and then how do you relay that to our recruits of how special it is to make people want to come back?
Well, we have great facilities, but I think it's the people.
Right.
I think it's the you look at a lot of people, not just in athletics, but across campus who've been here a long time, and that speaks to just the kind of the culture of the whole college and not just the athletics. But if you want to drill down to the athletic department, Sander Atkinson, our athletic director, has been here longer than any of us.
Right.
And so, it starts with him in our department, and then that kind of filters down to us as coaches, and then gets to the players. And so how you relay that is to make their time here as enjoyable as yours was.
Sure.
And that doesn't mean every day is just easy, and there's not tough days. But that's what makes it special too, is when you can look back on those days and think, yeah, we got through that, and it made me a better, in our case, a better man. So I think it's just it starts from the top down.
Sure. Well, one thing that helps making it a wonderful time is success, and you've been successful, in your 10 years here, or 9+ years going on this year, and we're looking to build off some of that success from last year. We were second in the state last year, and then won a couple games in the Region 23 tournament, and obviously we're looking to build off that. We got started this past weekend with a really good Pensacola State team. It was good to get back out on the field. We had to push opening day back one day just to due to a little bit of weather, but it was good to get back out and get back playing again. Tell me what you thought about this weekend.
Oh, it was fun, like you said, to get back out there and get on the field and compete against another team, because their guys have been working hard, and we've got several kids that have been here, in our program for 3 years,
right,
which is pretty rare. And they're great kids off the field, which makes it fun, to be around them every day, and they do what they're supposed to do, and they work hard and things like that. So it was, number one, it was fun to be back on the field and compete against another team, a really quality opponent, one of the top teams in the country in Pensacola. Had a great crowd here.
Yeah.
The people all up on the hill and left field. Grandstands were full. People up on the perch. So it was a good atmosphere. Not too cold for opening day. We'll take that.
Sure.
And we played okay. Definitely a ton of stuff we need to get cleaned up as we get into conference in a few weeks. But it was just good to get the season started and hopefully get in a routine and a rhythm of the season.
Right. So this weekend, like I said, we host Muskegon Community College out of Michigan, I believe, for a 4-game set Saturday and Sunday. And that'll be a good test, not only to play, another quality opponent, but to get back-to-back days. It's unusual, I feel like, early in the season that we play back-to-back days. We do a little bit more of that as we get later on in the season, but it'll be we'll get a chance to play a lot of people, see it, throw a lot of guys, I would think.
Yeah.
4 games in a row, that's a lot of innings to try to get in. Tell me how you're kind of approaching this weekend with so many games in such a short time.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. So it kind of forces you as a coach to, because you're playing 4 games in 2 days. So it forces me to put guys out there,
right,
especially on the mound. So we have to cover, 32 innings, a 9-inning game and a 7-inning game on Saturday, then a 9-inning game and a 7-inning game on Sunday. So it forces you to get into your bullpen and give guys chances, and they deserve those chances because they worked really hard for it. And then it forces you as a position player, as your team in general, to see if you can stay locked in for every single pitch, every single inning, throughout the whole weekend, which is tough to do. But we have to do it in our league because that's all we play is doubleheaders. So you're right, 4-game sets on weekends are a little different, but I think it's good, especially early in the season where it forces you to get into your depth and use some guys and get them some opportunities.
Right. I think it's going to be interesting. I look forward to seeing some young guys play this weekend just because we're loaded with sophomores. Like you say, we've got multiple guys that have been here 3 years, but we literally returned 9 out of 10 starters, and I say that because we returned our DH, we returned our starting pitcher, or several starting pitchers from last year, and we only lost one real, position player that was an everyday starter last year. So I feel like everybody in the field started for us last year at some point.
Right.
And so we're certainly experienced across the diamond. But we've got some really good, freshmen. We've even got some good sophomores that weren't everyday starters last year that I'm excited to see, get out on the field and produce for us. And so when we look at the season, going forward and building off last year, that experience has got to be key, as to the guys got a taste of it. When we were winning last year, we won a lot of games. And so tell me a little bit about how we look to build off that and kind of your expectations as we go down the road.
Yeah, so the experience in junior college is pretty rare. But with the COVID year, there's a lot of experience at a lot of different junior colleges.
Right.
And so it's not, at least this year, it doesn't seem to be as rare as it has been in the past. And then it did just kind of work out where we returned a bunch of guys, and not just random guys, but like you said, starters.
Right.
So you can go around the field, and with the exception of Tolly, the center fielder, is now at Ole Miss, and then Dice, who ended up playing shortstop once Bo got hurt. You're pretty much bringing everybody back.
Right.
And plus some guys that were in some role situations. I'm thinking like a Jack Perry, a Chandler Klein. I hate starting to name names, just start leaving somebody off.
Sure.
But there's kind of 2 guys that just come to my mind. that are also, really provide you with quality depth, not
Right.
just another body if there were to be an injury to happen or somebody starts scuffling or something like that. And so, and then you go to the mound and you return Sparks, Boswell, and both those guys got off to great starts to their sophomore seasons this past Saturday against Pensacola. Ladner, who threw some really meaningful innings for us last year, especially in the regional. I mean, some pressure-packed innings. Brett Mason's back in the bullpen. Who else am I leaving off, Christopher? Help
Well,
me.
we got JT, who
JT
started out.
Etheridge is got as much talent as anybody in the conference or in the country in junior college baseball. And then you bring in, like you said, some pieces with freshmen and a couple of transfers, position player wise, where you bring in some pieces and you got a chance to have, on paper, which means nothing, but on paper you got a chance to have a pretty special season.
One guy coming out of the pen that I'm probably as intrigued to see pitch as anybody is Cade Stacy, who's one of those third-year guys. We talked about. We're actually going to have him on the show here in a couple of weeks. Who's got a really interesting story. And, he came here as a freshman, pitched some for us his first year. And then when he came back in for physicals his second year, we determined or picked up a heart murmur. And so he had to have heart valve replacement in his second year here. So he missed all of last year. So he's coming in as a third-year guy, sophomore, with really dynamic stuff coming out of the pen. And so, another one of those third-year guys that we talked about that I'm really excited to see, go on the mound for us. So, like I said, we're going to have him on the show in a couple of weeks to talk about that.
Yeah, and he's actually throwing today in inter squad because we're going to have to get some quality innings out of Cade this year, which we will. It's like you said, the stuff is as good as anybody on the team.
Right.
It just the first year here we got cut short because of COVID, and the second year here, you and the sports medicine team did a great job picking up on the heart murmur. And so he had heart surgery his second year here, and so then coming back. So it's really it's his third year here, but it's really his first full healthy season.
Right.
So I expect huge things out of Cade.
Sure.
And he'll be one of those guys that gets ran out there this weekend for sure.
Good. So let's kind of work our way through the season here, pretty quick. We'll host Muskegon this weekend, and we'll go down to Pensacola, face that same Pirate team for 4 more games. As we go down there for a 4-game set before we Coastal Alabama we've got at home, and we've got Hines at home, and then it's not long after that we get into conference play. Kind of walk me through the season and tell me kind of what you think, how things are looking.
All right, yeah. So like you said, I got the 4-game set against Muskegon this weekend, Saturday and Sunday. Which will be a good test for us. They'll be excited because they're from Michigan. That'll be first time outside. Beautiful field we have, facilities and things like that. So that'll be good to get those 4 games in. Then we have Hines coming the 19th, the third weekend, which is traditionally one of the better teams in our conference.
Sure.
So that they're a conference opponent, but it's a non-conference game.
Right.
So a doubleheader with them on that Saturday. And then we're going back to Pensacola. I can't remember. Do we have a midweek between that, or is the first midweek after Pensacola?
I think it's after that. I think Coastal comes in here on that Tuesday.
Okay, yeah, that sounds right. So then after we play Hines that Saturday, we take a road trip to Pensacola to play them, which I think it's good to get your guys on the road, before conference starts against a quality opponent. And we've got a bunch of returners, so this isn't a huge deal, but get them, how we handle our business on the road, how we handle our business on the bus, how we handle our business in the hotel rooms, what it means to play on the road and play with the level of toughness it takes to win on the road. So got that coming up at the end of the month, which will be fun. And then, like you said, I think a week or 2 after that, conference starts and you start, every game is towards a championship. So,
it's funny. I haven't thought about it until just now when you said that, going down to Pensacola and staying in the hotel. Last year, still kind of dealing with some COVID issues, we only played in-state schools. And so we didn't go on the road and spend the night until we got into the region tournament. And I think it's going to be good to get some experience with that. Like I said, going on the road, spending the night, having to go through the process of getting up and meals together and curfew and things of that nature and playing back to back. It'll give us some early preparation for the district, for the region tournament, at the end of the season, by actually getting on the road and going to having to stay somewhere.
Yeah.
Obviously, the goal every year is that we don't go on the road for the region tournament, that we host it and we play right here at Skaggs Field. So that's the ultimate goal there at the end of the year is to host everybody here. But it will give us some experience early on to kind of to get on the road and spend the night and get up and play back-to-back days.
And it's fun too. It feels
Yeah.
like college baseball. Like the guys will, I mean, they'll remember that trip really,
Sure.
you know, for the rest of their lives. So it's fun. It's not a vacation. You know, it's a business trip. We're going
Right.
to Pensacola, but you're going down there to win some games. And so, like you said, the experience of doing that before you do it in the postseason. So even if we did host the regional here and win that and move on to the World Series, you're still going to stay in a hotel.
Right,
World Series.
right.
So I think it's important that the first time we do that is not, you know, later in the season
Right.
or in the postseason.
Exactly. You know, we talk about the region tournament, and I don't know that people outside of our little, you know, world know just how good Region 23 baseball is in the country, you know, in NJCAA. I want to say 12 of the last 15 national championship games had a Region 23 member in that game. And so I think anybody that comes out of this region, you know, is the Region 23 champion, has got a real shot at a national championship year in and year out. Mm-hmm. And I think this year we've got, you know, as good a chance as anybody to sit in that seat, you know, and make that trip to the World Series. Let's talk about a couple of guys that have moved on or that have signed to move on.
Okay.
You know, one thing that you've done a good job of here while you've been the head coach is getting the best out of our guys, and what that's done then is propel them to the next level. Then we get a lot of scouts out here to watch us because they know we're putting out quality players and good teams. And so we had 3 guys sign early. Braden Luke, you know, Collinsville, Mississippi, West Lauderdale guy, signed with Ole Miss. Andon Johnson, catcher from Amory, signed with North Alabama. And then Keyshawn Collier, Mendenhall, signed with University of South Alabama. Just to get things started, I think we've had some guys since then commit or sign.
So Cade Stacy, who we mentioned earlier, Mississippi College,
Right.
Which is an awesome fit for him. And then JT Etheridge, who we mentioned earlier as well, Louisiana Lafayette.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's good.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to have more because, like you said,
We
we've
will.
got so many sophomores out there that are really producing. So I think that those numbers will continue to go up as we play because they're already, you know, producing. Like we talked about Brock Butler, I feel
Yeah.
like if he keeps hitting the ball like he did, you know, the end of last year as well as the beginning of this year,
Yeah.
there'll be people knocking on his door for sure.
Yeah, every sophomore we have will have an opportunity to play at some level.
Right.
Granted, they're healthy and they want to, which all our guys do. But yeah, every sophomore will have the opportunity to continue their career at the next level.
Exactly. Well, that's great. I think it's a testament to the program to know that everybody coming out of high school, you know, they all have the grand plans of going to play Division I baseball, and it's good that when they come here, they know that they're going to have that opportunity leaving here to go play, you know, at a 4-year school, whether it's Division I or not. They'll have an opportunity to keep playing because, you know, we're putting out quality teams and quality players. So give me a freshman. We've talked a lot about the sophomores and a lot about experience. Tell me some of the freshmen that have come in that you look to really contribute.
Okay. Cortez Dennis jumps out at me as a right-handed pitcher. What his role is going to be is still to be determined, but it's going to be significant innings, whether that's the start of the game or the end of the game. He's a guy who's the sky's the limit for him. I mean, 6'6", right-handed pitcher, he's athletic. And he's more polished than you would think he'd be. I mean, he can double up on a changeup. He can double up on a breaking ball. He commands the fastball for strikes. So his role will be still to be determined, but it's going to be important, whichever role that is.
Right.
Gunnar Dennis is another guy who was with us last year, but he was hurt, and so he was rehabbing all last year. He's a left-handed pitcher, left-handed hitter that I think is going to do some really good things for us this year. Tanner Parker is definitely going to give us an option behind the plate, behind Andon, who you mentioned earlier, who's going to North Alabama. And I wish I had my roster sitting here in front of me. Trying to think who else. Help me out, Christopher.
Tell me about the kid from Brandon, the pitcher.
Yeah, McCartney is a guy who's definitely not scared. He had a great high school career, especially a great senior year at Brandon High School. He's going to be a piece out of the bullpen. It's a decent fastball. It's good enough fastball, but he can really spin a slider. Super competitive kid.
Right.
So he'll get some quality innings.
We got a transfer, I think, from Mississippi Delta, Carson
Chapman. So you got a couple transfers that I think are going to impact us on the offensive side of the ball. You got Carson Chapman, who's like a career 370-plus hitter in our league.
It's his third year in the league as
Correct, yeah. Banks Hyde came to us from Pearl River. He's a super athletic kid. He can do a lot of different things for you. He can play kind of a Swiss Army knife. He could play middle infield. He could play center field if he had to. Of course, we have Keyshawn in center, so we don't really, hopefully he won't have to.
Right.
But he could play either corner outfield spot. Jalen.
Cowan.
Yeah, Cowan transfer from UNO. He's a power bat who's trying to find himself in the lineup somewhere. So that's kind of the 3 transfers that jump out at me. I'm trying to think of some other true freshmen.
We got Jacob Allen, left-handed pitcher.
Yeah, Jake Allen from Biloxi, who's going to have a good career for us. So yeah, there's a bunch of kids that are fighting every single day.
Sure.
And that's one thing we talked about is like, if you look at us on paper, there aren't a ton of spots available, but the best dude's going to play. And so if it's a true freshman, if it's a transfer, if it's a third-year guy, I don't really care. If he's on scholarship, if he's not on scholarship, whatever.
Right.
The best dude's going to play. And so the guys know that. And so then the iron sharpens iron, so to speak, and the competitiveness that it happens every day at our practices and our inter squads, makes everybody better.
Sure.
So.
And I guess that's the good thing about these non-conference games is in these 4-game set we talked about, is we get everybody out there. I mean, everybody I think will have an opportunity, to earn that spot, and like you said, the best men will play.
Mm-hmm.
And so they'll get opportunities here early in the season as we start getting ready for the grind of the conference season to show what they can do and to really, solidify whether or not they need to be on the diamond, when we start, or if they're going to be a bullpen guy, or they're going to be, a relief guy, a bench player that comes in, pitch hits late in the game or something like that. So they'll certainly get plenty of opportunities in this early season.
Yeah, like a Dalton McIntyre
Yeah.
is a true freshman who I left off, but he's super talented, super athletic. Could probably play center field for most of the teams,
Sure.
in the country if we didn't have Keyshawn Collier right there. And we're asking him to do it on both sides of the ball. So he hits. He's a left-handed bat who can really run. And then also he's a left-handed arm that's pretty good. He'll have a significant impact on this year's team. But it's like the other day. So he didn't start game 1. And then before you know it, I'm telling him to swing a bat, and 2 minutes later, he's hitting.
Right, right.
And then the first play, and he stays in on defense, and the first ball is hit where?
It hits right at him in the gap. Yeah.
Right to him. And so those are learning experiences for those guys, because Dalton McIntyre has always been the best athlete, just
Sure.
like most of our guys have been the best player on their team from the time they were 10 years old
Right.
on up through high school. And so it's different when they're coming out of the bullpen, or it's different when they're coming off the bench. It's like Cortez came out of the bullpen for us this weekend, and I looked down there and he's not really, and it's not his fault. It's just the first time he's probably ever come out of the bullpen, at least in 3 or 4 years,
Sure,
since he was
sure.
an underclassman in high school, and he wasn't getting warm like a bullpen arm is supposed to get warm. And so that's just a learning experience.
Sure.
And you don't really, the game is the best teacher. So we can practice all we want, but until you start facing, live bullets and another
Right.
team in that other dugout, and there's actually pressure and there's people in the stands, you can't replicate that.
Right,
And
right.
so to your point, the non-conference games are huge for the development of those kids, because this is junior college baseball. Like you come here to play.
Yeah.
Okay. And so the freshmen, we're expecting them to help us win a championship this year, and so we've got to get them out there, throw them in the fire, get their feet wet, so to speak, so we can count on them when it counts.
Right. So real quick, last thing, we talked about, we got several coaches on staff that played here and they came back to coach, yourself included. Our assistant coach Jared Parks played here and came back to coach. But something that I don't know that I've seen throughout the department anywhere else except for on the baseball team is we've got a legacy of brothers playing, baseball, fathers and sons
Right.
playing baseball. And so tell me about some of those guys who, like I said, Coach Parks played here, his brother played
Yeah.
here. And then we've got Braden Luke, his dad, Kerry Luke, played here. And we've got some others. So kind of tell me about the legacy of MCC baseball and how it's kind of a family tradition.
Yeah, it's really neat how that worked out. So we don't recruit kids just because their dad played here, but if their dad played here and they're pretty good players, then that definitely helps.
Sure.
Because they probably had a great experience here under former coaches, whether that's Coach Palmer, which like you talked about, Braden Luke's dad, Kerry, played under Coach Palmer and Coach Berry here.
Yeah.
J.T. Etheridge's dad played here. Morris Etheridge played here.
Right.
Brock Butler's daddy played here back in the day. And then you got Jared and Stanford, a couple brothers who played here.
Right.
Now Jared's, in his, third year as assistant
Right,
coach here.
right.
And was a great player here himself. So I think it's a really neat story and how that's kind of worked out. And it does kind of speak to the pride and tradition of the place
Right.
where, their dads, it's almost like a small town Mississippi high school where their dads play there and their uncles play there, and then they come through and play there because they've grown up hearing about it.
Sure.
And so maybe it does mean a little bit more to those kids because they know the tradition of this place
right.
well before they even get into high school to come here and
Right.
play because their dads played here. So I think that's pretty neat. And
one more that I think about, Ridley Thomas, who's in his third year here. We signed his brother Brady Thomas, so we'll have 5 years of Thomas kids out here, and so just another. Ridley enjoyed his time so much. I think the day his brother came on the visit, I think it was just a matter of where do I sign. He wanted to be an Eagle just from being around Ridley and watching him and Ridley enjoying his time here. So I think again it speaks volumes to the program you're running. We're successful. We're putting out successful young men as well, and they're enjoying their time here and wanting to see the rest of their family come here because they've enjoyed it just as much.
Yeah, I tell them if they don't have a good experience here, that's their fault.
Right.
Because everything's set up for them.
Sure.
From the job Matt Milner and his people do with the live stream, which is like second to none, and those highlights are pumped out the next day. Like that doesn't happen at most junior colleges. Right. So it's really cool. And then even if you drill down even further, just the environment and the culture in the locker room, it's really good people that come from good families and they've raised right. And so you surround a bunch of good people who are also really talented. That does nothing but just breed success.
Exactly.
And so it's a special place here. Not just the baseball program, but the college in general.
Absolutely.
It's awesome. And that starts with Dr. Huebner from the top, and it bleeds all the way down through the rest of the campus.
Well, Coach Sudduth, thank you for joining me today. Good luck this weekend as you host Muskegon Saturday and Sunday at 1 o'clock for 2 doubleheaders there. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll finish up with the View from the Top, brought to you by the Rush Sports Medicine Team.
Meridian Community College. For more than 75 years, we've helped students soar. Establishing the first tuition guarantee program in Mississippi, we put our students first, while creating pathways into the workforce and offering a seamless transition to a 4-year degree. Now is the time to find your purpose and register today, because those who move forward never get left behind. MCC, find your wings.
Welcome back to View from the Top, brought to you by the Rush Sports Medicine Team. I'd like to remind you of what's going on at MCC this weekend, as the Lady Eagle basketball will host Colin tomorrow night in the Graham Gymnasium at 6 o'clock. If you can't make it out, you can always watch that at mcceagles.live. Saturday and Sunday, Coach Sudduth's baseball team will host Muskegon Community College at 1 o'clock both days for a doubleheader. Come on out. It's going to be great weather this weekend to come to Skaggs Field and catch a game. But if you can't catch the game, those games as well you can catch on mcceagles.live. And to keep up with all things MCC Athletics, be sure to like us on Facebook at MCC Eagles Athletics, follow us on Twitter at MCC Eagles Sports. And for Eagles highlights, every episode of View from the Top and so much more, subscribe to us on YouTube. Just search Meridian Community College. Once again, I'd like to thank you for listening to this week's episode of A View from the Top, brought to you by the Rush Sports Medicine Team. Thanks, Head Coach Dillon Sudduth, for joining me. We'll be back next Wednesday at 9 a.m. here on Super Talk Meridian, 103.3 FM.